I didn't mean it like that. Come on, guys, please. You guys can do this to me. Wait, keep giving me money, please. I didn't think it was gonna make me lose money. Play stupid games, get stupid prizes. It's an idiom as old as time. That's not true. But what is true is that conservatives are getting bodied. And that's really funny. Now, what am I talking about? So, do you guys remember multiple generations back, 2020, the 2020 election cycle, where Joe Brandon epically bodied the Orange Man because the Orange Man was indeed bad and kicked him out of office? Unfortunately, that also led to a wide-ranging attack on the intellect of the entire nation, making people unfortunately believe that Brandon and the ghost of Hugo Chavez and Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi and Schumer and so many people, maybe Fidel Castro and pandas who were making the voting systems for Dominion and Smartmatic in China, were all rallying against Trump to be able to yoink and then sploink the election for Brandon. There were a lot of people, and we went over, back when that happened, there were a lot of people saying a lot of things, and a lot of lies were coming out about that. And I know a lot of you were wondering, are they, like, you can't just lie about all this stuff and then walk away from it and think that it's going to be fine when you wholeheartedly try to upend and destroy our political system as we know it for your own personal gain because you don't like the fact that an election didn't go your way. You forgot about Karl Marx and Stalin. That is true. I did forget about Karl Marx and Stalin. Both of them were both in the pot for Joe Brandon. You got a point. You got a point there. Forgot about that one. Well, the answer is no. You can't actually just walk away from this because over the last couple of months, there's been like a drip feed of conservative ills, not only in court for their election lies, but in court for the lying itself. And a lot of the things that they were doing, a lot of the things that they thought they were going to be getting away with, turns out that that's not true. And the seeds that they sowed have sprouted, and now it's time to reap. And the reaping ain't good. So I want to start from some of the lowest end things that were happening to these people, ramping up to the worst for the lies that they told about our elections and the attempts to overthrow it, either through popular opinion and dissent to physically there trying to upend it. So let's take a look at this, because this is going to be funny. Kari Lake, loser of the Arizona gubernatorial election. I love gubernatorial. It's such a funny word. After her massive lies about what was going on in the election, Kari Lake's lawyers were sanctioned recently over their election claims, and the Chief Justice directed Lake's lawyer to pay $2,000 for making false statements. Not a kind of a slap on the wrist, but things are going to get worse, and things are going to get worse for Kari Lake as well as things happen. Yeah, being sanctioned and being forced to pay $2,000 is not good. False factual statements to court. So this is setting the precedent that people are going to start coming for these Republicans for the lies that they told in court, and things aren't looking that good. It ramps up to in Georgia. Remember Georgia, how Trump had his perfect cow with Raffensperger about how we just need to find 12,000 votes. You can just get it. Just give me 12,000 votes, you know? And how there were so many claims that so many lawyers said, and so many like right-wing activists said that people were filing because they knew something was wrong with the election. It turns out, actually, after a little digging and investigations, that close to 100,000 voter registrations were challenged in Georgia, but almost all were just done by six fucking lunatics. 6 people. If you were going to tell me that this isn't mental illness, then honestly, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. This is way closer to being like full-blown mental illness than ADHD or even autism is, if I'm going to be completely clear with you. 6 people filing 100,000 false voter registration challenges to overthrow the election for your favorite president is insane. That's crazy. On March 15th, 2022, an email appeared in the inbox of the election director of Forsyth County, Georgia, with a subject line, challenge of elector eligibility. A spreadsheet attached to the email identified 13 people allegedly registered to vote at P.O. boxes in the county, a wealthy Republican suburb in North Atlanta. Georgians are supposed to register at their residential addresses, except in special circumstances. Please consider this my request. That hearings to be held to determine these voters' eligibility to vote. Schneider is a former chief financial officer at multiple companies. So you know he's very knowledgeable in elections, you see. His Instagram page includes pictures of him golfing at exclusive resorts and a dog peeing on a mailbox with the caption, "Woody suspects mail-in voter fraud." So true. Hashtag MAGA on Truth Social and hashtag MAGA on Truth Social, the social media platform backed by former President Donald Trump. Schneider's posts have questioned the 2020 election results in the county and spread the content related to QAnon, the conspiracy theory that holds that Democratic elites are cannibalistic PDF files. In 2023, he posted an open letter to his U.S. representative-elect encouraging hearings to hold perpetrators accountable where evidence exists that election frauds took place in 2020 and 2022. Let me tell you, that doesn't exist. It does not exist at all, okay? Which is just remarkable, if I'm going to be honest with you. It's just so curious. At first, voting rights groups were vocal about other aspects of SB 202, it's a voting rights bill, such as restrictions of absentee ballots and stuff like that. Here, 1 second. Media outlets have reported on the high number of challenges and numerous cases of voters feeling harassed, impeded, or intimidated by being placed into challenge status. But the outsized role of a small group of people making the challenges was less clear. ProPublica was able to determine that a vast number of these challenges since SB 202 became law, about 89,000 of 100,000 were submitted by just 6 right-wing activists, including Schneider. Another 12 people accounted for most of the rest. This is crazy. Can you imagine this massive backlog that they're making? Can you imagine all this time that they put together for 100,000 claims? 100,000. Just such a massive waste of resources and voters' money and taxpayer money. On what? On what, bro? ProPublica obtained data for all challenge logs in 30 of the state's 159 counties. They didn't even get all of them, including the 20 most populous. Of those challenges, roughly 11,000 were successful, and at least 2,300 votes were removed from the rolls, and at least 8,700 were placed in challenge or equivalent status, which forced people to vote with a provisional ballot. This is just so disrespectful, dude. Can you imagine you're just living your life doing your thing, and some maniac says that you're like dead or you voted wrong or something, and then the state forces you to vote with a provisional ballot. You can't even, and you have to jump through extra hoops just to like exercise your basic human rights. It's sick. Challenges from right-wing groups have proliferated in Georgia despite strict federal laws governing how voters can be removed from rolls. This is part of the state's local election officials have struggled to figure out how to reconcile this bill and how to reconcile what's been going on. Also, with these people aren't just publishing these types of things as well. They're also harassing people. Obviously, these people are being harassed, right? Like in Georgia specifically. And a lot of the poll workers are black women, older black women that they're just abusing. Georgia poll workers targeted by Trump are cleared of false election fraud claims. So these people, like, literally just doing their job for free most of the time, or almost all the time, trying to uphold our democracy to make sure that your vote is counted, getting harassed and harangued, being chased out of their offices, needing to have their like faces covered like they're jurors in a high profile case simply for counting votes, because these people think that like pandas with opposable thumbs eating bamboo and putting together voting machines. And just so you know, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Just so you know, just so you know, for some people who don't know what I'm talking about, because some people weren't a part of the community a lot of people weren't a part of the community back in 2020. So let me find this for you, okay? Arizona Republicans hunt for bamboo-laced China ballots in 2020 audit effort. So if you remember back in the day, during the 2020 election, where like Trump supporting witches and warlocks circled voting booths and started to do like a summoning ritual to force the electors to be able to count like all the Biden ballots for Trump, actually, like Doug Ducey, the old governor, took all those people and said that these people are mentally stable enough for them to do like an audit of the election. And so one of their things that they said that they were looking for is that since these ballots came from China, we have to see if they have bamboo fibers inside of them to prove that they came from China and were tampered with by pandas with like mental chips in them to build these voting machines to specific specifications that Beijing Biden has made with collaboration of Xi Jinping to overthrow the election to take down Donald Trump. This is peak racism. You're right. Racism really is a hell of a drug. I don't know if any other drug can make you think like this besides simply racism, if I'm going to be honest with you. And no, they say it with their own eye. They say it with their own mouth.
What was that about?
Well, is that there's
the other day at the
find out if there's bamboo in the paper that
you were talking about.
Oh my! Thank you, Twitter. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you, Twitter.
You start over. The other day at the press conference, you were talking about bamboo. What was that about?
Well, is that there's accusations that 40,000 ballots were flown in
to Arizona,
and it was stuffed into the box. Okay, and it came from the southeast part of the world, Asia. Okay, and what they're doing is to find out if there's bamboo in the paper. That camera right there, that they take a picture of the ballot, they can really look at depth and find out, is it a hand-marked paper ballot? Because it's a 5K camera. You can see the folds in the ballot because 92% of all the ballots here should have been folded.
Anyways, he goes on to give his insane flat earth goddamn conspiracy theory about how it's not racism and he's definitely onto something by looking for bamboo fibers. He's definitely onto something here. The more he's okay. Yeah, the more he says okay, the more true the story is. Listen, we have a 5K magnifying glass camera that will allow us to look at all of the folds, and the folds will be folded as 90% are folded and 100% don't have bamboo. They came from the southeast part of the world, China. They came from the South China Sea, bro, looking for Asians. Oh no. As you see, this paper is of Oriental origin. we will find something. So true, brother. So true. Anyways, these batshit crazy, insane freaks are harassing black women in like Atlanta and around the country, and other like people around the country for simply wanting to help the country move, to help put through the rights, help make sure that the rights that their ancestors fought for and that we have fought for get actually upheld. Only if, don't you think that'd be great? Don't you think that'd be fantastic? I think so personally, but it seems like conservatives don't. And this is causing an obscene effect on the GOP, which I think is personally hilarious. GOP confidence in 2024 vote count low after years of false claims about the election in AP North poll shows. So basically what they're going out and doing is asking a bunch of Republican voters, hey, how do you feel about the election? And these days Republicans are like down in the dumps, they're in the gutters, they're like dying in gutters like Edgar Allan Poe. when you ask them about the election, because they think that the election is all now full of lies and deceit, and like a real election hasn't happened in like the last, I don't know, like 12 years or something, I guess. And so it's all over. It's completely Jover, and they'll never win another election again. So what's the point of even voting? And honestly, I agree with you. I completely agree with them. I don't think a single Republican should ever vote ever again in the history of time, because there's no reason to vote. And so you should just spend your efforts doing something else, like posting on Truth Social, or I don't know, getting a job, I guess, or going to therapy, but instead of voting. I think that I agree with them. I also think that they shouldn't vote. And it just reminds me a lot of, like, remember when we watched Charlie Kirk? Good, stop. Yes, good, stop. Just stop. Just not you. Your vote obviously doesn't matter. So you should just, like, not vote anymore. Go ahead, dumbass. Fuck you. Stop voting. I like, remember when Charlie Kirk was doing his live show and he was asking questions, and then somebody called in and he was like, I just don't want to vote anymore. Voting doesn't seem like it does anything. And he was like, I can't believe when on my show you would get the impression that I would say voting is compromised or something. You should always vote, bro. And it doesn't make any sense. You can't say these two things at the same time, that the country is lost, that we're completely lost, that there's nothing that you can do anymore. Our life is over. It's terrible. It sucks. It's cringe. And the country has been stolen. The country has been stolen. 2020 was the last opportunity for us to fix the world, and it didn't happen. And so it's more a Jover than it ever has been. And then on the other end say, actually everything's fine and you should just keep voting. No, you can't have it both ways. It's one or the other. And you picked which one you wanted. You bet everything into lying to everybody about what the election was and how like you think it was stolen, and it didn't work out for you because your lies were easily seen through by literally every single person. They Hail Married overthrowing fucking democracy, and now they're dealing with the consequences because they didn't win. And so they're getting what they deserve. They're getting what they deserve. They really are. And I hope it stays that way. Yeah, our enemy is strong but completely incompetent, and they get everything done, but they can easily be pushed over if we all just, like, think for just 1 second. Few Republicans have high confidence that votes will be tallied accurately in next year's presidential contest, suggesting years of sustained attacks against elections by the former president and his allies have taken a toll. Good. Only 22% of Republicans have high confidence. Oh, dude. This is going to cause a real ripple effect. As you've been seeing, like, over time, Republicans have been having more and more issues getting people out to vote and getting people, like, excited and confident about, like, actually voting in elections. And they've just, like, doomer-pilled their entire constituency, which I think is hilarious. But at the end of the day, yeah, if you want an actual working party, you have to either tell people that their vote matters or it doesn't. And you said that it doesn't, and so they won't vote. Obviously, you piece of shit. You dumb motherfucker. So yeah, fuck you. I hope this hurts. I hope it hurts a lot, actually. I hope they're racking their brains about what to do now, because they can't dislodge it. They can't escape it. At some point in time, reality has to meet the fiction in their own mind, and how that'll come to bear is going to be something that they can't control. It was all good and fun when they were, like, putting through fake electors, but they didn't think any further than that. Hate to see it. Reality has a left-wing bias. You really do hate to see it. And swing state Republicans are starting to bleed donors over Trump's false claims. So if you thought that this was just going to be like, oh, you know, maybe they does well in the poll. No. Actual Republicans in swing states, no less, some of the most important elections in the entire country, are starting to completely bleed donors and lose a bunch of money because their lies have started to actually affect people. It's incredible how they say things and people believe it, and now they're like, wait, guys, wait, I didn't mean it like that. Come on, guys, please, you guys can do this to me. Wait, keep giving me money, please. I didn't think it was gonna make me lose money. Real estate mogul Ron Weiser has been one of the biggest donors in the Michigan Republican Party, giving $4.5 million in the recent midterm election cycle, but no more. Weiser, the former chair of the party, has halted his funding, citing concerns about the organization's stewardship. He says he doesn't agree with Republicans who promote falsehoods about the election results and insists it's ludicrous to claim that Donald Trump, who lost Michigan by 154,000 votes in 2020, carried the state. My question whether the state's party has the necessary expertise to spend the money well. That's true. That's true. That's true. They probably can't. And they probably won't. Especially since the Republican Party is still paying all of Trump's legal bills. Just in case if anybody forgot about that. So there's no, and all of them pay Republican dues. So it's very likely that the money that he's going to be giving to them is going to go straight to the RNC and then go straight into Donald Trump's pocket for him to fight court cases about him lying to the general populace about how he won elections or trying to overthrow the election. Me when I sow. Me when I reap. Oh, what the? Man, reaping sucks, dude. Reaping really sucks. Rudy Giuliani should be disbarred for pursuing Trump's false election claims, a review panel says. So Giuliani, who's still mind you, a real lawyer, a real actual lawyer for some reason, that may not be the case very soon. Former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani could be disbarred. Oh yes, just in case you were wondering, yes, he was actually New York's mayor. He's on my birth certificate. As crazy as it is, as disgusting as it is, this man's signature is on my birth certificate, and I actually can't escape him until the day I die. Every time I hear his name, it makes me sick to my stomach remembering that fact. But yeah, it did happen. It is quite unfortunate. I gotta be honest with you. Me and all the 1999 New York babies that are like genuinely cursed for the rest of time. What the fuck? Yeah, listen, you gotta remember, in the movies, supervillains get defeated in New York. In real life, they get elected to public office. That's something that people gotta understand at some point in time. In real life, the supervillains don't get defeated by the Avengers, they get elected to public office. That's what happens. They get elected to run the place. If like Gotham was real and it was anything like New York, the Joker would be elected to mayor. And that's just how it works out. That's just how it is. Bound by the cruel thread of fate. Oh man, I'm all tied up and I hate it. Giuliani claimed massive election fraud but had no evidence, wrote the 3-member panel in a report. Errors and unsupported claims the former mayor made in a Pennsylvania lawsuit seeking to overturn the Republican president's loss to Joe Brandon. Between Election Day and the January 6, 2021, the U.S. Capitol, Giuliani and other Trump lawyers repeatedly pressed claims of election fraud that were almost uniformly rejected by federal courts. He's the third lawyer who could lose his ability to practice law over what Trump did. John Eastman faced disbarment in California, and Lynn Woods this week surrendered his license in Georgia. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Yo, fuck you, dumbass. You're never gonna practice law again. Not in this town. I hate you. Look at him. He looks like he was crying. Oh, crying Lynn. Lame Lynn. Wow. Gives up his license. He has to turn in his badge immediately. Oh, it's so good. If this man loses his right to practice law, if these cockholsters for Donald Trump lose their right to practice law, all because they couldn't imagine not pumping his insane election claims, I think it would be the funniest thing in the world. I think it would be the funniest thing in the entire world. And you know what else is really funny? How the Justice Department is starting to look really curious about these fake elector claims. Now, if you don't remember, back in 2020, Donald Trump's allies decided it would be really funny to lie to state election officials about being real electors going to Washington to cast their vote for their state after the election. And if you think that sounds illegal, well, it seems like the Justice Department thinks the same thing, because the Justice Department's investigation into efforts by Donald Trump and his advisors to overturn the 2020 election results is barreling forward on multiple tracks. That is honestly the scariest thing. If I was one of Trump's supporters and I saw this sentence, I would shit myself. I would literally boom my pants, if I'm going to be honest with you. According to multiple people familiar with the matter, with prosecutors focused on ads and fundraising pitches claiming election fraud, as well as plans for fake electors that would swing the election to the incumbent president. Okay, a little like background. Okay, so how our elections actually work is that when you can cast a vote, okay, you can cast a vote, and the person who gets the most amount of votes wins the state. And then the state takes electors who are unelected, just random ass people, to go to Washington to officially cast their state's real vote for the election. Okay? That's what you actually technically don't vote for the president. The electors who are put in place for your state do. So those numbers that you see when it comes to how much a state is worth in electors, that's how many people actually fly to Washington and in person vote for your state to for the president. That's how the president is actually chosen. Okay? And some electors for some states are technically not legally bound to vote for whatever to vote for whatever the state actually voted for. So if your state voted for like the Democratic president, your electors could in some states legally just say fuck off and then vote for the Republican president. And so your vote would literally mean nothing. He is indicted, you're right. He is still indicted, right? So what was happening is that Republicans wanted to put forward Trump supporting electors in states where they felt like they could get away with it, to go to Washington to lie and pretend that they were the real electors, but in actuality they were just Trump supporters who were going to be voting for Donald Trump to get him over 270 over Biden for their own personal gain, and lying to not only the federal government but also state governments and voters, and overturn their votes so Donald Trump could remain president. And if that sounds illegal, it is. It's actually very illegal. And it seems like the Justice Department doesn't think it's very funny, actually. Each track poses a potential legal peril for those under scrutiny, but always raises tricky questions about where they should draw the line. Smith, a longtime federal prosecutor who was appointed special counsel attorney by Attorney General Merrick Garland in November, charged Trump this month with 37 counts, alleging he willfully retained documents in his residence. We saw all about that stuff. January 6th, hate to see it. I went to find one little memento, because unfortunately my highlighter broke, and so all my highlighted stuff didn't go through. Take a look at how crazy this sounds. This was their plan. Special counsel Jack Smith's team has extensively questioned multiple witnesses about lawyers' actions related to fake electors. Pro-Trump substitutes offered up as a potential replacement for electors in swing states that went to Biden. The Washington Post has reported that Giuliani, a personal attorney for Trump, who took over his campaign's legal efforts in the 2020 election, coordinated the fake electors effort. Ellis helped him urge the state legislatures to reject certified Biden results, while Eastman argued to Trump that Vice President Mike Pence could accept alternate slates when certifying the electoral votes in January 6, 2021. Chesbrough, who wrote several memos on the fake elector strategy, Olson urged lawsuits to overturn the election results in several states, and Clark pressed Trump's fraud claims within the Justice Department. So this is I feel like a lot of people downplay how insane this was. This is a multifaceted attempt to, and let's not miss words, overthrow a democratic election for an autocrat to overrun the government. They strategically place people in places of power, even within the Justice Department themselves, to overthrow the democracy. Republicans are anti-constitution, they're anti-American, they hate democracy, and they wanted to instill Donald Trump as the God, King, Emperor of the United States. This is something that you should go to jail, maybe even for life for, if I'm going to be honest with you. I can't even possibly begin to verbalize how evil this is. Genuinely, like capital evil. It's a coup. And a lot of people and a lot of conservatives love to lie to you about how bad this was. This was a coup. And almost all of these people are going to either face time in jail or never going to be able to serve law again because of what they did, or both. And they deserve it. And things are heating up. Okay, because it's not only going to be hitting on the people who push for the electors to be there in the first place, it's for the electors themselves. Michigan charges 16 fake electors for Donald Trump with election law and forgery felonies. This mental illness of throwing your life away for Donald Trump is starting to come back to them. Michigan's Attorney General filed federal felony charges Tuesday against 16 Republicans who acted as fake electors for then President Donald Trump in 2020, accusing them of submitting false certificates that confirmed that they were legitimate electors despite Donald Trump's victory in the state. Attorney General Dana Nessel, a Democrat, announced Tuesday that all 16 people would face 8 criminal charges, including forgery and conspiracy to commit election forgery. The top charges carry a maximum of 14 years in prison. There is evil afoot. There really is. There really is. I love Michigan. Michigan's been doing some crazy stuff recently. I don't know. I got to take a trip to Michigan to show my respect for the great people of Michigan up there, because they've been doing remarkable, incredible things recently. They've been doing incredible things. The group includes the heads of the Republican National Committee Chairs chapter in Michigan, Kathy Burden, as well as the former co-chair of Michigan's Republican Party, Meshaw Maddock. This is Meshaw Maddock. That's not even a real fucking name. And Shelby Township Clerk Stan Groot. Who are these people? Who are these people and their fake names? These are real Michigan names. I'm not gonna lie. I've never heard Michigan names more than this. It's like Tudor Dixon. They all Michigan names sound fake and unreal. Literally all of them sound completely fake. And if you thought that was bad, don't worry. It gets worse. Election officials sue conservative voting group over refusal to produce ballot harvesting evidence. So basically there's this group called True the Vote, which is a Republican-backed conservative voting group who's pushed for a lot of these like more strict election laws and better election oversight, basically giving them more opportunities to overthrow elections and basically pushing it so that state legislatures can overthrow elections that they don't like they tried to do in Texas, or they did in Texas. I forget which one. I have to look back into it. And basically they claimed in the state that, hey, there's so much ballot harvesting, dude. There's so much crimes happening, dude, that we should just overthrow the election, dude. Like, we can't have a real election, dude. So we should just like stop having elections like that, dude. And we should just like let Donald Trump be the president of the United States forever, dude. Come on, dude. And so the government was like, okay. Got any evidence for that? And they went, just like I mean, like you gotta, like it's just like I saw this video on Twitter once, and like a Telegram has a lot. There was this clip that I showed you, but you didn't like it. The government was like, hold it right there. And they're like, wait, listen. The election's over now. I mean, we could just like leave. We could just go. Yeah, I don't have to, like it's over now. So like, who like this, like the 2020 election is so 3 years ago. So who even cares anymore? And the government was like, no. I care a lot, actually. You should tell me what's going on. And they said, and they like responded with crickets, and they said, hey, court, force them to tell me what's going on. Georgia State Election Board is asking a judge to order conservative voting organization to produce information to help investigate its claims of ballot trafficking in the state. So basically, the government is suing a conservative voting advocacy group to give them information to continue investigating an investigation into ballot harvesting that group originally pushed for them to investigate. Just in case anybody was lost, the government is trying to force these people to give them information to continue the investigation that they wanted them to have. They said, we have all this information, all of these terrible things are happening, but they don't want to give us any information on what's actually happening so we could actually do it. They said that they have all this information that it totally happened, but they don't want to hand it over to the government. And it's starting to make me, and they're all ears, dude. But it seems like they don't want to give any of it up. It's starting to make me think that they may not have any information at all. Government said, I'm all ears, and they went quiet. I think that says a lot. I think that says a lot about the world that we live in. It's a hell of a world. It's a heck of a world, brother. It really do be. It's quite curious. All right. And it really is heating up. Special counsel subpoenas security footage from Atlanta Stadium that served polling place in 2020. Brad Raffensperger is clamping down on Republican operatives inside of certain polling places for what he thinks what possibly happened, which is they may have lied about some shit. And it is crazy. So that's what's going on. There's a lot of other stuff that's happening, but I can't go through all of it now. I think I'll leave it here. If there's more stuff that happens, if there's more hilarious L's that come about, then I'll let you know. But I will tell you this, that their fall is coming. You can't lie about this stuff forever. And it may get you short-term benefits, but in the long term, you will always suffer more than you gain to get. And it seems like they had to learn the hard way that messing with the federal government of the United States is not a game, it's not a joke, and it's not funny. Trying to overthrow an election is not something that you could just walk away from and think that you're just going to get away with it. They're going to make an example out of these people, and it's not going to be pretty. But I'll tell you one thing, it definitely will be funny. Come here. Come here. Oh. Hi. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there. If you're enjoying the content, hit the subscribe button. If you don't, it'll make Boo very sad. I know a bunch of you who are watching are not subscribed. Join the frenzy. You won't regret it. Thank you, Boo.